Hello, my friends. It's very nice to see you, finally. Uh, so, today we have a small uh, meeting with our uh, Ukrainian YouTuber. Her name is Anna, and I'm very, very glad and happy to introduce Anna today to you guys. And of course, I'm very, very happy to see you uh, tonight, today, whatever time it is in your place. Um, with big pleasure, I'm introducing Anna to you. And by the way, this is our this is our very, very first our very, very first podcast on this channel whatsoever. So, uh, Anna, please introduce yourself and say hello to our viewers.
Good day, good evening, good morning, wherever you're watching us. And first of all, I would like to say that I'm really honored to be a part of this meeting tonight. I very much respect your work and our viewers, those who stand with Ukraine, support Ukraine, and understand how important it is to follow the events in our country. And my name is Anna, and I'm from Ukraine. And I did not plan to become a professional vlogger, but when this war started, I felt like the world needs to know more about real life stories, some emotions and feelings of ordinary Ukrainians. And I have started vlogging daily. At the very beginning, I had like 47 subscribers, but then I realized that more and more people want to know these stories. I'm not an expert, a military expert, or a professional YouTuber, but I try to speak about this subjective things that we go through daily, and I'm really grateful for the interest that the world has to Ukraine and the support that we receive. So now I'm a semi-professional vlogger, and also just a couple of things about me. I'm a PhD in linguistics, I'm a teacher, and I also write for the daily Ukrainian newspaper. That's why perhaps communication, telling stories is a part of my um, lifestyle. And today I'm really happy to be with Operator Starsky. I'm honored, and the fact that this is your first stream on your channel, I mean the joint one, makes me even more excited.
Thank you so much. Actually, it's my pleasure to have you here tonight with us. And yeah, this is my first stream. Uh, guys, we've spent some time trying to set everything up. Uh, Almost everything works because my another camera just died, just like previous time. I think it was like a sabotage or something. And by the way, today I feel almost like Joe Rogan because I have no hair, I have fancy headphones, and I can invite celebrities. I think it's absolutely awesome. uh, yeah, so we have received a bunch of questions from you friends, and yeah, I think that today we will ask your questions to each other. I think that would be
Mhm.
perfect. And
Mhm.
ladies first, of course.
Okay, can I start with the questions? First of all, I have to say that I'm really happy about the subscribers that you and me have, because the questions they ask are so interesting, and I personally could ask all of them by myself. And question number one that describes you really well, your sense of humor, and the fact that you can stay reserved in so many tough situations. How do you manage to maintain this calmness and sense of humor going through so many things and witnessing so many things?
Let me just, yeah, there was a request for me to move yourself just a bit to the left. Uh, it would be
Me?
better if, no, 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 no. I mean the window with you. You stay in place. You are perfect. Uh, yeah. So the
Thank you.
question the question was regarding my sense of humor.
Your sense of humor and your ability to remain calm in really tough situations that you witness, you participate in.
I think it's our traditional skill in Ukraine because no matter what happens, to Ukrainians, no matter who wants to attack us, no matter who wants to enslave us, and no matter how desperate our situation looks. Okay,
Mhm.
I think that this is our traditional skill to remain smiling, whatever happens, because you are defeated only when you stop making fun of your enemies. I think,
Yeah.
yeah. So probably that's the answer.
And I love your shorts.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think that we have to do something together because there was a request from our viewers, our friends.
Hmm.
We will do something, guys.
So,
I promise.
so do I. I would like to.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, if you don't mind, I will ask a question to you then. So the most popular question that I have received, like 9 questions of 10 were like this one. Are you single and do you like pizza?
Well, if I will answer this question, they will stop asking. Then I cannot answer it. But if you want to invite me for pizza, then definitely yes, because I'm a huge pizza lover. I can bake pizza by myself. I have a couple of recipes, or I can go to pizzeria. And the answer for that is definitely yes. The only thing I'm not a fan talking about my private life, but the only thing I can tell you that definitely war is a very challenging time. And when I observe people around me, I see that so many people fall in love, so many people fall out of love. And perhaps you can never like go through so many emotions as during this time. So this is a challenging, but at the same time, extremely important for your internal feelings time. So that is my answer to the question, but pizza, yes. And thank you. There is a question that I liked, and it's quite unexpected taking into account that we mainly talk about war and military situation, but there was a question about your childhood. What was your childhood like? Yeah. Were you good at school? And any kind of sport that you loved and things like that. Maybe how did your school time influence you?
Oh my God, it happened quite a while ago. Yeah, so yeah, I can confirm one thing for sure. I had a childhood. I wasn't born like this. Uh, Probably I was born without hair as well, but who knows? And My childhood was very nice. I'm a military brat, and I had to travel all around Ukraine, uh, all around mm, like Kiev region, Chernihiv region, and stuff like that. Uh, I was a good kid.
Boy.
Yeah, I was a good boy. I still am. Um, and My favorite, like, I wasn't much into sports when I was a small kid, but around like middle school and stuff, around that time we moved to some very sketchy neighborhood in Kiev, and around that period of time I realized that I should probably learn something like boxing. uh, so yeah, this is my favorite sports. It's
Mhm,
like boxing, Muay Thai, because as soon as you learn boxing, at least a bit, at least basics of boxing,
mhm,
uh, you want to learn how to defeat boxers. That's why you start learning things like Muay Thai because it's a kickboxing. And then after a while, when you learn basics of Muay Thai, you have to you start thinking, how do I defeat kickboxers if they are better than me? Again, I suck at both, I swear. But anyways, and then you get acquainted with things like wrestling. But even though I sucked at boxing and kickboxing, I sucked much more at uh, wrestling than in boxing or kickboxing because like I'm not a big guy and my opponents were usually like big. Uh, so yeah, so I failed hardly at wrestling, but I still love it, and yeah, my favorite sports is boxing and Muay Thai.
Hmm.
Okay,
This tells a lot about you. You like to progress, like after learning one skill, continuing with the other.
yeah, shooting. Because my
Hmm.
father was a military, um, I operate weapons since 4 years old, and that's, by the way, one of the stories that I will probably tell you once.
Hmm. Okay.
Uh, so how do you see a woman role in this war so far?
Well, I'm really proud of Ukrainian women, and I think that historically our society and female part in Ukrainian society is really strong. And even when you look at the history, there are lots of important figures who were women. And being brought up by my father, I never felt like I have to be different because I'm a girl. And I'm really proud of this attitude, and I think this makes our nation stronger. The fact that in Ukrainian armed forces there are so many women and they feel comfortable and well there is also important. When you look at Russian org army, you will see the attitude toward women, and there are no of them. And I have read an article, not being a military expert, that the presence of women in the army actually leads to a more comfortable atmosphere inside. And very often, successful armies of the world they have a certain percentage of women, and this demonstrates this healthy atmosphere, like not Dedovshina style, like suppression and all of that, so popular in Auckland. That's why I'm really proud that our women are very active on various fields, starting from volunteering that was very often supported by families, mothers, wives, and also by those women that are present in the Ukrainian armed forces. They are pilots, they are commanders of tanks, there are lots of such stories. And also fighting on the informational front. And I can say that Ukrainian women are brave, they are confident, they are united, and perhaps so we have to be also grateful for our males who allow this kind, not allow, but who create this kind of cooperation. And I think it's very characteristic for Ukrainian society. And definitely the role is important, especially for me, you know, this war is very, like traditionally in this grown-up world, we have to say there are lots of gray shades, nothing that's concrete. But in this kind of war, everything is very vivid. This border between good and bad, between black and white, is so vivid. And this contrast between Ukrainian women and, forgive me, Russian women is also very vivid in their attitudes, especially if you listen to these interceptor calls, soldiers calling their wives and mothers who inspire them to loot, to raid, who do not want them to come back home. And this is just contrary to Ukrainian mothers and wives who want the best, who try to volunteer hard to supply the soldiers with everything they need to tell the stories and to remain strong in that. So I would say that Ukrainian women are strong and they are united with each other and with Ukrainian men too. And I think this is a very good characteristics of our society. And this is not something that appeared during this full-scale war, but something that existed during the old times. I remember when I first heard, this was actually one of the inspirations for my vlog, when I first heard a story about a lady who destroyed a drone with a bottle of pickles or something like that. And that reminded me of Princess Olga, who was one of the greatest women of the Kiev Rus, and who also destroyed some of her enemies with, according to the legend, with the sparrows. And I thought this is interesting because it demonstrates that this tradition to fight, to be brave, to be active, remain for thousands of years here in Ukraine, and they will never win. Okay, and The next question for you. I know that many people like President Zelensky, and he became very prominent on this global political arena since the start of the war. And the question was, have you met President Zelensky in person before the war? Or since the start of this war, did you vote for him? And did you feel that Zelensky was always going to stay and stand up for Ukraine despite the offers by foreign governments to free and escape somewhere safe?
That's like three questions instead of
In one text,
one.
but
Yeah,
united by Zelensky person.
yeah. I didn't meet him in person. Uh, my friends did, by the way. A lot of guys from my brigade, uh, but I did meet him in person. As for like whether I voted him, I voted a different person, and
So did
again,
I.
yeah, again, this is democratic country, and I'm not afraid to say this because I know that like I won't get fired tomorrow. But I completely respect what he does, and I completely respect choice of my people because this is my choice as well.
Mhm.
And whether I thought if like he's gonna be standing for Ukraine as much as he does now, um, well, as a militarist, we don't think this way usually, like because when you're a military, you have a higher command and you have to listen what they say. Uh, Army is not a democratic society whatsoever, and what makes it different between an army or a company of other people is that you don't just gather around and think, I don't want to go there. It sucks. It's
Mhm.
it's dangerous. I'm afraid. Like no, or like I don't like that order. Uh,
Mhm.
I think that my commander is wrong. No, yeah, like you don't do that. It's a different thing. That's why everything in army happens very fast and very orderly. Okay, let's say. But personally, I was very impressed when he said that he doesn't need to ride. He needs weapons, and I thought, oh my god, I agree on that. Completely agree on that. Of course, as a military, I would be very disappointed if I had to run around like crazy with my AK while
Mhm.
my president was like chilling somewhere
Mhm.
abroad. I'm glad that it didn't happen. I'm glad that he's here and he supports his army and he does his job.
Mhm.
So I cannot say anything bad about him so far.
Mhm.
Uh, and in my turn now.
Mhm.
Um, so how are students and because Anna is actually she's my colleague. She's a journalist. She's not she's not just a teacher. She's
Mhm.
also a journalist, and I was a journalist myself before becoming a PR manager in my civilian life. And yeah, the question is regarding your students. So, how are students and teachers
Mhm.
adjusting to the wartime situation?
Well, it's a challenging time for children and for students. And to tell you the truth, I feel really sorry for students because many of them were unlucky to have these 2 years of COVID epidemics when they studied online, and now we have full-scale war, which is a much worse situation. But COVID epidemics prepared us for online working, and we were able to continue teaching during this awful month. And this is very important. From what I see, even those students who did not actually enjoy classes, they started coming more and more often, turning on their computers because this feeling of community was very important for them. And it was so like it's difficult to talk about some professional subjects when you see what's happening, for example, in Bucha, Irpin, and you see young people like just like these students. buried in the sand because they are Ukrainians. So definitely we have, in those subjects that allow that, we have switched a little bit and we have discussed more important things like combining them with the topics that we need to talk about, but also incorporating all of that things. Online helped a lot because many students left the country and stayed abroad, but at the same time, I am like 100% sure that it's so important to continue working, to continue studying, to continue, I don't know, drinking coffee on that territories where it is possible, because this helps to maintain normality. This helps to maintain the feeling that this is a real country. It will survive this war. For me, a very symbolic gesture was when all of the ambassadors returned back to Kyiv, to Lviv, but this was a very important switch, like in the attitude when the world believed Ukraine will manage to stand this war, we will not collapse, it is not blitzkrieg, it's the greatest mistake of Putin. It's not our loss. And the same about universities and schools, the fact that they were able to continue and are able to continue education, maybe not 100% perfectly, but this is very important because we continue living, we continue working, we continue preparing Ukrainian, I don't know, linguists, journalists, doctors. And now I know that in our semi-dangerous regions, it's possible to combine offline and online. Many universities have bomb shelters, and this allows to return to almost normal educational process. And the majority of teachers and students have already returned. And I know that many Ukrainian educators are afraid that many students will leave and enter European universities as there are lots of opportunities open. I'm not the one who worries about that because I also witnessed the process previously, even within like a couple of years when it became easier to study abroad, that many of these students returned back home. So it's totally okay. It's a normal EU tradition to get your experience, to study, to compare, I don't know, education, working environment, and then to come back and change the country. And I do believe that after we win this war, there will be lots of healthy and good processes that these students will participate in. So I'm excited to be a part of this preparation process, and we definitely try to focus on positive things. I know I always pronounce this word badly in the wrong way, so I won't. Okay, and the question to you, and all of these questions are interesting. Have you ever been to Russia before 2014, perhaps? And if you have been to Russia, what are your impressions about the country and people?
Oh my God. Yeah, I've been to Russia. I've been to Russia in 2012.
Mhm.
Yeah, in 2012. And I was invited again because I had this position of a spokesperson, let's call it this
Mhm.
way. Um, I was invited to some kind of communication workshop with different representatives of like different organizations like Sberbank, Одноклассники, ВКонтакте,
Mhm.
and all that stuff. I cannot say that I learned something new, but
Mhm.
because at that moment they were like um, they had like not like authority, but you know what I'm talking about, influence.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
everybody thought like, oh my God, Russians communicators are so good.
Mhm.
I I can agree with them because Russia invented propaganda. That's why, yeah, that's the only reason.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, everything's everything was very expensive. I had a tea that in 2012 would cost me 200 hryvnias in a hotel. That's like
Russian tea.
10
Mhm.
times the price in Ukraine, and it was very cold and like humid and stuff. I didn't like it much, but the biggest thing was that everybody was grumpy. Everybody looked like, you know, like that grumpy cat. All the people.
Mhm.
You gotta check out. You gotta check out the drawings of Vasily Loshkin. Vasily Loshkin is a Russian painter. Like, you will understand what I'm talking about. If I want to go to Russia, like in the future, even if it's like safe or whatever, I have better places to go. Okay, okay. Uh, speaking of Russia,
Mhm.
what's the opinion of Ukrainians, in your opinion,
Mhm.
about Russians? Do they hate all of them or understand that it's Putin to blame for all the evil?
Well, once again, as in my vlog, I always say that I'm subjective because that's perhaps the idea of the vlogs. They have to be subjective. If I change my opinion, I also inform my friends about that and my viewers about that. But I do love one quote. It seems to me these were the words of Churchill, who said, "If the country is run by a dictator, it is not only a dictator to blame." So for me, Russians are similarly responsible for the actions of Putin and his regime. I think a lot about his crimes, Putin's crimes, and at the same time, I'm always trying to understand how come every 50 years or something, Russia nurtures a new dictator. They have this national tradition of various authoritative tyrants. And look at the history of the Tsars and kings and Stalin and then Putin, and they like people like that. We have prepared one of the videos in the series Soviet Myths Debunked about Stalin and Putin. And Stalin, with all his crimes that are now known for Russian society too, with Gulag, deportations, terror, I don't know, mass executions, millions of people dead, not only in Ukraine, I'm not even mentioning Holodomor, but back in Russia, inside Russia. And now, after Putin and his propaganda machine started working, he is one of the most respected political leaders. 39% of Russians in 2021 said that he is the best leader ever. So that's what they like. And I have this huge question: why? What is wrong with them? And I don't have an answer to that, because every nation, every country can go through a difficult period, poisonous propaganda. But I see lots of similarities between Nazi regime and Russian regime. But at the same time, you cannot imagine people with posters of Hitler standing somewhere in Berlin, or an icon of Hitler in one of the Munich churches, for example. But this is what happens daily in Russia. They have Stalin everywhere. They have returned him to various official events, halls, I don't know, museums. And there are icons with Stalin. Stalin who killed thousands of priests, who forbade religion. So there are lots of things that I cannot understand with my Ukrainian brain. And I think there is something inherently wrong inside Russian society. And actually, this is one of the greatest problems. After we win this war, what shall we do with millions of Russians who support it? I do know there are some good Russians, not all of them dead, some of them may be alive. But the question is, their society does not react. Putin is 22 years ruling the country. During these 22 years, they had enough opportunities to stop him, to change something. This is what Ukrainians do traditionally. And then when they tell us in this hidden interviews, you have perfect parodies of that when they are apolitical, and they say it's so dangerous. It is not an excuse for a Ukrainian when we have hundreds of people killed daily, children killed, maternity hospitals destroyed. So for me, the fact that someone can get arrested for 15 days or something is not an argument. Then look at their meetings. They have people packed in autozaks and they start crying and they go away home. What happened on Maidan? People started like breaking these cars. People were fighting for their friends, for their relatives, and this was an important moment when the government, the police realized they cannot stop the civil society here, and there is no active civil society in Russia. So I do think it is not only Putin to blame, definitely Russians. Oh, I understand they are brainwashed. I understand they are traumatized for centuries. And there is a huge question: what shall we do with them after we win? How do we show them their crimes? How do we talk about their crimes? How do we cure their attitudes? And how do we continue living with them next to us and next to so many beautiful democratic countries?
Yeah, I agree on that. A lot of Russian propagandists try to convince other people, especially our foreign colleagues, that this Ukrainian revolution, the revolution of dignity, was actually like prepared and supervised by some third party, some power, some
Mhm.
party or organization or
Intelligence agents
yeah,
from
yeah,
all over the world. Mhm.
yeah. What so like what Russians will never understand in their lives is that Ukrainians, because we are the motherland of such thing as anarchy, okay, guys, you probably don't know it, but anarchy was literally born in Ukraine in the beginning of the 20th century, and it worked. I
Mhm.
swear, not for long, but it did. Nestor Makhnov. Okay,
Mhm.
so what Russians don't realize is that Ukrainians don't like authorities in general. I mean, like, uh, no matter how good is like it's like our national thing. Like, no matter how good is our like president or like leader or whatever, at some point, some years will pass and we will go. He's guilty. It's
Yeah.
him to blame. He did everything. Yeah. So
We
there's
do
no
not worship them
yeah, like we do not worship them. That like we can be fans, but it's very easy to change.
to lose
But
our interest.
yeah, uh, so that's why they will never understand, and that's exactly the reason why Russians believe in this, because they are just like that. They can't be ruled, and they don't care. They don't care if they like have a dude that rules them for like 22 years. It's okay. It's not bad. Um, okay, so let's move on to another question. Again, we have a lot of questions regarding Russians.
Mhm.
Um, have you ever been to Russia?
No, I have not been to Russia, and I don't want to. The only visit I can imagine is together with Ukrainian armed forces. I don't know, liberating Kremlin or something. But honestly, I don't think like we will go there, or maybe. So that's the only trip I can agree for. But I have been to Belarus, and I think it's pretty similar. And I feel really sorry for this country because I believe their society is trying to do a little bit more than Russian society. At least from time to time, they have meetings, they try to protest, and historically, they are less brainwashed. So I do hope when I was traveling there, there were lots of things that indicated to totalitarianism. It was once again before 2014, but it was difficult to buy currency without your passport, even for really small sums. It was impossible to take pictures of the presidential palace and other things that you cannot imagine in Ukraine. You're free to do that. Like you can take any pictures. Well, maybe not during the wartime, but in general, it is very difficult to imagine how free your society is until you visit Russia, Belarus, or other countries. And I do hope, very much hope, that our victory may be a chance for Belarusian society for some changes inside that country. So far, never been to Russia and don't plan to.
Yeah, and currently we have one commentary from Steve Turns. My Ukrainian friend says her Russian relatives are dead to her now. And in my opinion, it's one of the biggest tragedies we were talking about in some of previous videos, but it's like uh, I think that destroying families like this, destroying people's relations because they're like your family, uh, is absolutely the same kind of crime as destroying civilian structures and cities. It's horrible. It's like when your relatives call you from Russia and start talking trash, and you try to explain them that they're so wrong. Like nobody is running around in Ukraine killing Russian speaking people. It didn't happen. Like
Yeah,
it's a parallel reality what you're talking about. Like no, no, we know that Russian speaking people are being suppressed in Ukraine. They're tortured, they're murdered in thousands, if
yeah,
not
we don't have
millions.
enough land to bury them. Yeah, and it's tragic, and it also demonstrates vividly how Russian propaganda works, how brainwashed people are. Because when they have this direct context, they have some evidence. I do think people send pictures or something, and they still believe these are Ukrainians bombing themselves or some other things. And it's tragic the level of the uh, brain. I don't know how to form a noun out of this word. How brainwashed they are, and this may remain for decades.
Yeah. Okay, I have to inform you that there's 2,164 viewers right now with us in
Super
this chat. It's very nice to
pretty,
see you.
yeah. And my viewers teach me to ask them to like this video if you like this video to make it more prominent on YouTube and let more people know about Ukraine and situation in our country as we need your continued support.
Good shout, because I never do that. I never ask people to like my videos for some reason.
Yeah, I love my viewers because they taught me a lot. There are lots of things I did not know about YouTube at all, and they have taught me how to be careful, how to attract additional attention. I don't know. And I know they inspired our cooperation too, so I'm very grateful for that, for the
Yeah.
community that we have.
Yeah, another nice commentary from Dr. Fistus, who said Ukraine had a lot of Russian schools before the war. Uh, so, statistically, we had more than 600 Russian schools in Ukraine prior to the war. How do you think how many Ukrainian schools are there in Russia?
Zero, right?
There's
Yeah.
none.
None. There was a Ukrainian cultural center and library, and they were closed long before the start of this full-scale war. So, and the number of Ukrainians in Russia is really big, and I know that many of them suffer right now. They have checkups, they are watched carefully for, and so definitely there are lots of signs that demonstrate they want to eradicate Ukrainian nationality in general. They
Yeah.
deny the existence of our identity.
We have another commentary from Biker Dad. Вітання з Техасу. Ми, українці, є скрізь, which means greetings from Texas. We Ukrainians are everywhere. Uh, for some reason, and big thumbs up for our friends from Texas, for our friends and viewers from Texas. For some reason, we have huge community from Texas, community that
Mm.
supports us, that always watches our videos, and that's great. I don't know why Texas specifically, but how about you? By the way, did you receive a lot of commentaries from Texas?
Yeah, I do have some, and I think the community is really strong, and their attention is visible. And I also have asked my subscribers to send me photos of Ukrainian flags, and there were lots from Texas, not only in Ukraine, or not only in families with Ukrainian heritage, but also from all over different people who live in that.
I
And
can
what
share
was
some of yeah, I can share
Mhm.
some of mine because my viewers sent me just a bit more than 1,000 pictures and
Okay.
videos.
That
Yeah.
would be cool. I have one more question also connected to Russia, and that is a question about the freedom of Russia legion and what is your attitude towards them?
You probably talk about the battalion,
Yeah,
freedom.
battalion,
Yeah.
but yeah. Hmm.
So those are the Russians that deserve my respect. N- Not a lot of them do, because
Hmm.
again, I completely agree with you regarding Russian people. If they not interested in politics, if they don't care what
Yeah,
happens in their
politics
country,
cares about them.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
don't care about it,
that's why. Like whenever I'm told that we cannot protest because we will be arrested and executed.
yeah.
Listen, what do you think about when you hear such things personally?
Well, like I think they demonstrate cowardice, weakness, and I don't know what is going on with these people because many of them are successful. I don't know, businessmen. I'm actually surprised. Many people talk so much about Russian culture, you know, how prominent it is, Russian literature, and so on. And I have this counter question, not denying historical thing. Who can you name among modern Russian writers, influencers? I don't know, actors who speak about this awful war. There are just a few. I know there are some, but just a few for hundreds of millions of Russians. And I think you cannot be successful, you cannot be strong if you're so much afraid of your own government, if you close eyes on so many crimes. So all of these generations, they are guilty. They have spoiled their karma if it exists. And of course, for a Ukrainian who sees pictures like we did, photos, and you saw it in with your own eyes. I saw it on media, photos from Bucha, Irpin, from Izum. Uh, can arrest be a reason for not protesting against these things? So definitely they are condemned by their actions for the next generations, I guess. And I feel but like sorry and sad about these people and disgust, honestly.
Absolutely. Personally, I always remember about our celestial hundred. Okay, about our people on the Maidan, uh, unarmed people who went against armed police, people that were shot to death, but it didn't stop them. And like, yeah, if you want to change something in your country, I give you 100%, you will be arrested or tortured or executed because, sorry, there's like no other way. This is how it's supposed to be, unfortunately. Bad news. But if you have enough guts to do that, you will do it.
Well,
Because,
if you sorry,
yeah, because
if you
like, if, yeah, go on, please.
you do. I just wanted to say if you don't protest, it is just like for Ukrainians, if you don't fight back, it will be worse.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if somebody decides your future for you, meaning that you will have zero, right? Like, is there even some kind of justification to make it happen, to let
Hmm.
it happen? If you're being told in 10 years, you like, okay, literally, like in 10 years, uh, you will have zero possibilities to travel around the world, and you will not be able to buy high tech things, and everybody will think you're a Nazi piece of crap
Orc.
because your soldiers will kill a lot of people. But it's gonna happen like in 10 years eventually, and you're like, oh, okay, it's not bad. Come on,
I just want stability.
yeah, you like this stability ends. The best stability is on a cemetery, I tell you. And it makes me so sad actually when people say that, no, we will be arrested, we better live like slaves and whatever and have no future. But yeah, don't tell nobody, we will have problems. So, and by the way, speaking of Russian accent,
I like
another
it when you speak with Russian accent.
Actually, it was a question for you. Can you speak with a Russian accent?
What would you like me to say with this Russian accent? We have to practice so me and operator Starsky can record some beautiful Russian jokes,
Yeah,
right?
it will be awesome. We gonna make jokes about balalaika and
Oh, that is,
and vodka and matryoshka.
yeah, yeah, and eating caviar. I want to eat caviar.
Eating caviar is so good. Red caviar is perfect.
Perfect for us. Why not give
Okay,
it a try?
yeah.
We can.
And yeah, so it was a question for you.
And I had a question for you that is closely connected to the way you speak English, and it's perfect. And the question also includes a compliment to you that one thing is to speak English, another thing is to make jokes in English. That is more difficult for a person for whom this is a second language. So, what can you tell about your education and like something that makes your IQ so outstanding and visible on your channel?
Oh my God. Okay, so I uh, I have a degree in communications.
Mhm.
As for my English, well, basically, as soon as I received an opportunity to use internet in Ukraine, it was like middle of 90s.
Mhm.
Uh, I started searching for different friends from abroad. I was like 14 probably. uh, I found a lot of friends from different countries, not only from natively English speaking countries, but also like
Mhm.
from India, Turkey, of course, and
Mhm.
other places. And yeah, and that's how I learned. Also, I watched YouTube a lot, and
That helps.
that helps big time. Uh, my personal my personal preferable way of learning different languages, not only English language, is watching their like shows and series without dubbing.
What other
Usually,
languages? What other languages do you know?
like Polish, I also will find a time to learn Farsi, and I really like to learn Turkish language, but they have some very different type of building sentences. I still cannot understand it. Uh, and I also knew how to speak Italian at some point. I lived in Italy for like a month when I was a kid, and
Mhm.
I learned I learned speaking Italian like in 1 month. Uh,
Mhm.
so and after that, I forgot completely everything because I had no practice. Absolutely.
Mhm. Mhm.
And what about you? How many languages do you know?
Well, like definitely the best will be English of my foreign languages. Puedo hablar español un poco porque mi padre nació en Argentina y tengo una familia grande ahí. Ein bisschen Deutsch. I can ask a question in German, but I will not understand the answer. Also, I know how to count to 10 in Turkish. You know, I also wanted to learn this language when I was a kid. I don't know, I like this Roxolana history and stuff like that, so I can count to 10 and I can say a few phrases in Turkish. And when you were talking about the way you improved your English, this made me think about one more interesting phenomenon of, I hate this word, but post-Soviet countries. You know, like we had these teachers of English at the university, at school, many of whom spoke this way that makes you fun, like with Russian accent, with Soviet accent. It was very difficult to trees, there is, there are, you know, all of this stuff. Because they did not have access to native speakers, to recordings, to videos, and the society was that much closed. Like you don't have a possibility, I don't know, to watch a comedy in English or something, and that's why lots of people speak that way. And it's so good. We have this tremendous shift. When I look at younger generations, when I look at students who are not like professional in English who study IT, mathematics, they already speak English very well. And I think this also demonstrates this shift education and in the direction in which we move.
Yeah, I agree. Um, okay, so then I have another question for you.
Mhm.
Um, how you think? Uh, what kind of immediate steps can Russia and its people do to begin rebuilding our like relations between the countries with Ukraine and Ukrainians, and if it's gonna be possible at all, like if there's a chance that our relations will be the same.
No. Like the answer, committing mass suicide won't work. So, I think as in any kind of relationship, the time was lost after so many victims of Ukrainian people, so many children killed, so many graves found, so many cities destroyed, so many, like we're talking only about this material side, and how many unborn children, how many ruined families, how many things will not go the way they should in our lives. I often think about this 30s Holodomor and how different Ukraine would have been without this Russian occupation, Soviet occupation. That would be a totally different, beautiful, stronger, better country. And the same about Ukraine after we win. We will win, but we will have lots of traumas. We will have lots of dramas. We will have lots of problems. And that is because of Russia. And I think, of course, I want them to protest. I want them to start thinking about their sins, about their crimes. I want them to have something similar as Germans had, like visiting concentration camps or visiting Mariupol, visiting Izium, seeing the crimes committed by their husbands, sons, because it's not Putin killing here. These are hundreds of thousands of Russian soldiers who were blessed. I think many Russian families are now already influenced by this war. So, of course, they can fight against. My dream, actually, is the collapse of Russia as a country. I believe there are lots of beautiful peoples and nations hidden inside its borders, as like Siberia, who often describe themselves not as Russians but Sibiraki. We have Yakutia, who wanted to proclaim independence and even tried in 1991. And there are lots of Tatarstan, there are lots of states and peoples that are suppressed, that are not allowed to speak their languages. There are lots of problems inside the so-called Russia. So for me, Russia is Moscovia, this golden ring, or how do they call it? But this is a very small people nation, and there are lots of other nations. And I think that if Russia collapses, of course, many politicians, global politicians, are very much afraid of that because this will be a huge change. But at the same time, this is a way to have many normal countries to start trading with them, to start buying gas, natural resources, so many things that we need, but with different governments, with less empire style government, and this may be the best thing. So perhaps they should start working on proclaiming independence in the regions. That's the best way to make friends with us. Then not as post-USSR, not as Russia, but as many beautiful, different, free, independent countries that will exchange their experience and learn from us, Baltic countries, Poland.
Yeah, because like when you look at Russia, uh, it's the biggest country in the world, right?
Yeah,
The
they
question
have so
is
many lands. Why do they need more?
the question is how did they become the biggest country in the world? I mean, were those people that were swallowed by this country, were they happy after that? I mean, there's a lot of questions actually. But one thing that Russians still cannot explain is why uprising in Chechnya, led by heroic uh, General Dudaev, President Dudaev,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
was a coup, while uprising in Donbass was a beautiful revolution and choice of people.
mm-hmm.
Come on. So
I
uh,
have.
Yeah, yeah. Please go
Yeah,
on.
I have so many questions to you. People will hate me if I won't ask them. First of all, and that is an important question, I guess. You have been a part of the Battle of Hostomel, and how has it changed you? Because like it is an extremely strong experience. So how did it change you?
First of all, I don't think that I changed a lot during this battle.
Hmm.
Probably even like it was the opposite. I like
It's
I'm not a special force hero, whatever. I'm just a press officer who was an NCO. But the battle for Hostomel, it was my most recent battle, but it wasn't my first battle because I was deployed for the first time in 2015
mm-hmm.
in Donbass in areas of Mariinka, Krasnohorivka. We've been to Verkhnyotoretsk, we've been to Pisky, and many other places. Svetlodarsk Bulge, of course. I've spent two of my deployments there together with my guys as an NCO. And like battling Hostomel wasn't my first one, but it was my first one in terms of the aviation, of course. So
Mm-hmm.
probably I was changed a bit by Russian aviation because like I haven't seen it before, not so close, I would
Mm-hmm.
say, because some of those helicopters were flying like literally over our heads, like 20 meters away from us. So yeah, it was interesting. Uh, their paratroopers, they were elite. I agree on that. They were very nice. They acted professionally. Too bad they all died, but they were nice. Uh,
Especially
so
that.
yeah, unfortunately or fortunately, in this case, it's rather fortunately than unfortunately. But there's one thing that changes you big time because, for example, uh, when you face death of your friends a lot, for example, because I stopped counting at some point. When you face deaths of your friends, people you knew, people that were close to you, it changes you a lot. When you have to attend lots of funerals, when you have to talk to different widows, kids, it's kind of hard, and you have at some point you have to just switch off your emotions because otherwise you won't be able to perform your duties, to do anything. You have to just pass through this. Let this pass through you without like uh, touching your feelings or whatever.
Hmm. To survive.
Yeah, yeah, you need to do that to survive. You need to stay cold. You need to stay professional. At some point, you realize that uh, you forget how to react to things properly. And when you see, I don't know, um, when you see something that used to make you happy and bring you joy, like when you see your friends returning from the front lines and meeting their parents or their wives or kids, you smile. At the same time, you think, okay, how should I react? I mean, should I no should I be like those like those psychopaths,
Hmm.
because like they don't feel anything. They're like aliens, like robots.
Hmm. They have to
You
pretend.
Yeah, you can basically clap behind
Mm.
him and he will be like zero, yeah, zero reaction. uh and like you feel like that. You feel like, what should I feel at this point? Like, should I be happy? How should I react? How should I not overreact to this? That's why it's really bad. At the same time, some some silly things can make you cry. I cannot see kids drawing drawings for our soldiers.
Hmm.
It's very hard to me emotionally.
Hmm.
I cannot see like I cannot look at this. I cannot stay calm when I hear some silly songs that I didn't even pay attention to previously. But now there are some songs, for example, that I cannot hear
Mhm.
because, again, for some reason, they're too hard emotionally. And yeah, that's why, like, I cannot say that it's like PTSD or whatever, because like my guys who survived 4 months in Rubizhne in Severodonetsk, probably they're just much stronger than me, like psychologically, of course, because they're heroes. I don't think that I could do as much as they did. They're
Mhm.
heroes to me. But on the other hand, you cannot do that forever. You cannot uh, turn off your emotions forever because it changes you at some point, and that's
Mhm.
bad. So
Yeah.
I hope that that answered your question.
Yeah, that's an important answer to an important question.
And I have a question for you, by the way. Uh, how about a joint fundraiser for Ukraine with you and Denis Davidov?
Well, I'm always ready for anything that can help our country, and with pleasure and honor all mixed in me.
Yeah, I like Denis is a 100% positive and kind guy. Like when
Mhm.
we met him in Hostomel. We had this small like tour
Mhm.
around Hostomel airport, and we made a bunch of blogs about it. And
Mhm.
I was with my Max. Max is my second press officer in the brigade, and after we met Dennis, he was like, "He's such a nice dude. Like I love him. He's such a nice dude." And I'm like, "Yeah, he is." He's positive. He is always smiling and friendly and open. Like
I feel
he's
really,
a real Ukrainian.
yeah, and I feel really happy that YouTube introduced me to so many good people, and I've learned so much from you and also from our viewers who share their stories that can also inspire, telling how they support Ukrainians or sharing their family heritage and demonstrating these connections that exist between Ukraine and countries all over the world. That is very, very important.
Yeah, yeah.
And there is a question connected to that to you. How do you see the changes of relations of Ukraine and countries that are our allies, like the UK, the USA, and maybe some others? What changes do you predict, or maybe they are happening already?
Oh my god. Um, I think
Just
that I think at some point we will drink more with our foreign friends rather than with our, you know, Ukrainian friends, because um like what we see today, it never happened before, even during the times of the World War II. However, uh, everybody was really sad about what happened to Poland, because Poland was literally torn apart by
mhm,
Soviets and Hitler, and probably somewhat we remind our foreign friends about Poland.
mhm, mhm,
And probably that's, by the way, the reason why uh, Poland helps us a lot since
yeah,
2014,
mhm,
even since 2013, by the way. So
mhm,
uh, I think it's because of sympathy. I think it's because, again, we made a lot of friends during like the existence of Ukraine as an independent country. Uh, so I think that everything will only change to better. Everything will change to good. in my
I
opinion.
have promised I have promised myself I will be more attentive to different wars that take place all over the planet because previously I was more like I knew what's happening and where is it happening, but I was not trying to dig deeper into the situation. And now when I want people to understand how wrong things are with Russia, I realize that many other nations need this attention and support too.
Yeah, I totally respect that. I like. I'm not sure whether I would like to, be involved into like war and military stuff at all. Who knows?
Mhm.
Maybe I will. But I mean, after this war, but I will
Mhm.
definitely try to help as much as I can uh, to those people who require help, like refugees, for example. Because
Mhm.
at some point, I realized that I don't think that I have ever did it before.
Mhm.
That's why, yeah, that's by the way another thing that changed me a lot. Um, so a very interesting question, by the way. Why did you choose to stay and not move out of the country when Russia invaded?
Well, I did not even think about that. There are a couple of reasons, and the first one, I feel better when I'm inside. I'm not saying that those people who left Ukraine, especially those who left severely damaged regions where it's really dangerous to stay, they had to do it, and I understand how difficult it is for them. And I'm really grateful for the countries and people who support Ukrainian refugees and understand them. And all of them have their stories that made them leave the country. And it's always a tragedy to leave your house, not to know what's happening in your flat, not being able to see your relatives, and so on. For me, I remember once I was on a business trip in Lithuania in 2015, and there was some hot period when in the news there were a couple of messages that it may be that Ukrainian borders will be closed. And I remember how stressed I felt because I desperately wanted to be able to come back, to reunite with my family, to check my parents. And I was so much worried, not because like I wanted to stay in, let's say, Lithuania and wait until the situation is more or less. I wanted to know that I'm able to, come back and stay with my people. So I do have this feeling, and for me, even if you're not fighting as a soldier, even if you're not volunteering, but staying in Ukraine, you're doing something. Your place is not empty. You're doing your job. I don't know. You're teaching students. You're informing the world. So I wanted to be useful in the way I can. I'm the kind of person that wants to be effective. I know sometimes we get questions, especially from Russian trolls, why aren't you in a tank or something? For me, I know that I won't be that effective in a tank, but I can tell the stories of my country. I can explain some facts, and I think it's my obligation. So for me, it was like I cannot say I'm just brave enough or something. I could not do it a different way. For me, it is better to be here. I feel calmer. I feel better here. Of course, I thought that maybe if all the territories are occupied and I will try to escape because I believe people have to try to survive. And I'm not a romantic person in that, like, you have to die, you have to try to survive everywhere. But of course, following the rules of your conduct, your beliefs, your patriotic things. So uh, I'm lucky to live in a semi-dangerous region, and I think I have to be effective, and I have to help my country. So it was never a question for me. Plus, I feel more comfortable inside Ukraine, and that is also good for me.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. And by the way, I want to make a shout out for our moderators. So tonight we have not one but two moderators. It's Janine from South Africa and Dick Dawson from Canada. I
Thank
try
you.
to I try to add a bunch of other friends, but for some reason I failed because obviously YouTube cannot do that for some reason.
Mhm.
I will find another way. But anyways, they crash those trolls, like like ravaging swords of our.
Exorcist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So thank you so much, guys, and you're doing great.
Mhm.
Uh,
There,
yeah.
there is a question, an important, I guess, one. Um, what are the most effective ways to help Ukraine now? Ukrainian citizens, Ukrainian military? Is it more about material goods, money, weapons? How can our friends be effective?
Uh, I I want to say hello to Ukraine Matters. He joined us as well.
Mhm.
And if you are not subscribed to Ukraine Matters, you can do that now, by
Please.
the way. So, as for your question, like if I was a European citizen, like guys, it's
You are.
I mean like a citizen of the European Union, for example, or America, or you know any other decent country that supports Ukraine. Uh, what I would do is probably if I can build structures, I would probably come to Ukraine and help building structures. If I am tied to the same place, like to my home, to my parents, or to my family, or whatever, so I cannot move out, uh, I would probably help Ukrainian refugees. But at this point, I think that like I never heard complaints from Ukrainian refugees. By the way, I heard complaints from like other people. Not a lot of them, of course. Yeah, I hope that Ukrainian refugees behave well. If they don't, tell me. I
And
will
behave
make them.
well.
Yeah. Uh, and like, what can you do to help Ukraine globally? I think it only depends on your government. So it only depends on how you can influence your senators or your members of your parliament or whatever. I'm not trying to call you to do this because, again, what you do is your internal business, and Ukrainians don't like to stick our nose into internal businesses of other countries. We are not Russians, of course. Uh, but if you can, like, if I was you, I would try.
Yeah. I'm really grateful when I receive these comments, how when people tell they have addressed their governments. Plus, Russian propaganda machine is very deceitful, and they use different tactics for different countries. One things they spread in Ukraine, other things they spread in Russia. And for the European Union, for example, they have other arguments that maybe look less ugly, less bloody than those used in Russia. And I'm also very grateful to those of you globally who, in conversations, in various publications, I don't know, Twitter and Facebook statuses, try to uncover those propaganda tactics, try to make people not be so worried about gas prices, petrol prices, because as this war continues, Russia will try to blackmail, to manipulate public opinion, and being able to influence this public opinion, being able to explain that we have to win this war, because if it's not stopped in Ukraine, it was not our choice. To be a battlefield, it's not the best option. But it has to be stopped here, because if we don't win this war, it will continue to other democratic countries. So it's very important to keep that awareness inside your societies that it is, of course, it is a war between Russia and Ukraine, but it is also a war between democracy and totalitarianism, between evil and good. And we have to be patient.
Yeah, I would like to read you some commentaries from the chat. I'm sure you're gonna love it. Akio the Monster says, first Ukrainian refugees to Norway came to my village. We gave them a hotel only for them. Amazing people. We all love them.
Mm.
Uh, then Pietro Kozitinin says, Ukrainians do behave very well in general. I say that as one of the trauma surgeons helping you. My
Thank you
biggest
so
respect
much.
to you. Yeah, my biggest respect.
Thank you so much.
Lionel Slade says, we have two Ukrainian refugees, a mother, Anna, and her 12-year-old daughter, Sophia. They are very nice. Um, and oh my God, all those commentaries jump like crazy. So yeah, there was another one from Australia, but I completely missed it. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for caring for
Thank you.
them. Yeah.
This is very important, knowing that so many people traumatized by experience got into families. And please forgive if they are making some mistakes because they are under stress. And thank you so much for what you're doing.
Okay. So let me just surf through the commentaries.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, there's like a lot of them because it's 2,349 viewers here with us at this moment.
Cool. Cool.
It's a lot.
Greetings to all of you from Ukraine.
Yeah, I haven't seen so
And
much.
Operator Stersky hates saying this, but I will like this video if you like us.
Yeah. And Mel Cortez says, Starsky, my job in the United States is to house and find jobs for the refugees of Ukraine. Um, we have amazing people here. We really
Thank
do. Thank you so much. Um, okay, so what's next? And the next question
you. Mhm.
is your dreams of the future of Ukraine.
Wow, my dreams of the future of Ukraine. I'm like, I can say that maybe to some extent I'm superstitious and I'm not going to like describe everything ideally because I understand this is going to be a difficult period. And sometimes I think about all these traumas that our society receives, but at the same time, I try to think about post-World War generation, for example, in Europe. This turned out to be very strong people. And if you think about 50s, 60s, these are years of booming economy, traveling, something. So I do hope that our society will manage to uh, reevaluate what's important, what's not, and try to achieve their dreams and goals. We will have less fears. Of course, we have to win this war. We have returned back to the borders of 1991. I would like us to start, I don't know, a Nuremberg process or something like that for Putin and his regime. I would like that together with different organizations and alliances, we would think how to work with Russian society that is so much poisoned and traumatized that can be dangerous and can nurture a next dictator within 10, 20 years. So I would like serious work, psychological, ideological, to take place in Russia and maybe new countries appear on its territory. Also, I think we have to be prepared forever because we cannot relax and live with a neighbor like that. And my subscribers told me one joke that I like. It's so weird if you ask all the countries that border with Russia, maybe, but for some totalitarian states, what neighbor would you like to change? All of them will pick Russia. Like, who would like to change a neighbor? So it tells something about this country, about its people, and I want us to be strong in this military um, kind of sphere. And I'm a pro NATO person. I know there are lots of pros and cons in EU, in NATO, but still, I think it's a civilizational choice. And like a country that will share its experience because our military experience will be invaluable. And of course, less corruption and more changes, like may all this destroyed infrastructure be rebuilt in a totally better manner. So I hope we won't lose this feeling of unity. And these are my dreams. So for this war to end sooner, but it has to win. I'm not like a person, you know, there are so many people who wish us peace, and I have to ask them to wish us peace, but only after we win. So we have to get this victory and then start rebuilding, teaching, and I don't know, cleaning Russian brains.
Yeah,
That's my dream.
100%.
What is your dream then about Ukraine after the war?
What is my dream? Oh my God. Rebuild everything a lot,
Mm-hmm.
meet a lot of people, because I keep receiving commentaries from our friends that they already want to visit Ukraine, but of course it's dangerous yet. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that I should probably change my job at some point, because yeah, I will be really happy to meet a lot of you guys, a lot of my friends here in Ukraine, show around, because like, and by the way, yeah.
Do you need a guide?
So if you're in Kiev, by the way, yeah, I can show you around as well, because
Okay.
yeah, because me and Anna, we come from different cities.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I invite you to the Western Ukraine, you know. Western Ukraine is a beautiful place to discover many interesting cultural, historical places. So
yeah,
we
and
can cooperate.
by the way, your city is the only city in the Western Ukraine I have never been to.
We have to change that.
Yeah.
But the city was worth visiting. We have beautiful castle that is depicted on Ukrainian money, 200 hryvnias. That is from the Lithuanian dukeship period. So you are greatly invited.
Oh my God. Are there museums?
Yeah, lots of them and interesting, and some of them are really interesting. We have a museum of modern art that is pretty nice because it was recently projected and many people come to look just to see it. And also, we have a very interesting museum of icons that date back to medieval ages, and very interesting guides who do not speak like formally and have stories for every person. So, and lots of interesting places to eat out.
Okay, so I will serve all the historical places, the
I
castle.
will send you. I will send you links.
Yeah, yeah, the castle, the museum of icons, modern, modern castle. Oh
Castle,
my, yeah,
Lubart's Castle.
yeah,
Yeah.
I will be there.
A very important event took place in that castle. Back in 1429, Lithuanian Prince Vytautas invited European monarchs to come and discuss some of the things, one of which was protection against Ego, Tatars, Mongols, something similar we have right now with Russians. And many people say this was the first EU meeting, something similar, proto EU meeting that took place in my city. So you have to check.
Yeah, yeah, I agree on that. Uh, okay, and probably the last question of in my list,
Mhm.
after which I offer to move on to our main topic of tonight, basically. What what would you like to do most as soon as Ukraine wins the war? What's your plans?
Well, I like to travel a lot, and I would like to see many places in my country, Ukraine, and also all over the world. Now I don't feel like traveling because, like, when your country is suffering, you cannot relax. So I have not traveled during this period. And also, I would like to get back to writing because, like, I write for the newspaper, and also I dream when I grow up to be a writer, and it's very difficult to do it right now emotionally. So I plan to gain my emotions to normality and then to start living. And what are your plans after we win this war?
I want to go on a tour, because due to this invasion, I missed my vacation. One more reason to hate our enemies, of course. Uh, I will go on a tour,
Mm-hmm.
and I already know, like, so I made like this map.
List. Uh-huh,
Yeah,
uh-huh.
yeah, route plan,
Mm-hmm.
route
Cool.
plan, travel plan,
Roadmap. Roadmap.
whatever.
Oh.
Yeah, so we gotta travel around Europe. Of course, we're
Mhm.
gonna visit all the countries that were helping my people and meet a lot of friends. And after that, we will return to Ukraine, fly to, I think, Dublin and London, of course. Uh,
Mhm.
anyways, fly to the UK, then to Ireland, and drink with the shills.
I like your plan.
Yeah,
It's good when a dream sounds like a plan.
yeah, why not? Yeah, and people offer to go on a comedy tour. At some point, I'm afraid that this uh, comedy tour can really turn into my election company. So I'm not
Why
sure
not?
about it.
Why not?
No, no, because it
It's
sucks to
good for
be.
your. It's bad for your health, politics in Ukraine, but you can give it a try. It may good be good for a country.
It's because being a Ukrainian president sucks. It's a very hard task, and I think that Anna
Yeah,
will agree with me.
compare photos of the president at the beginning of his term and at the end.
Yeah, so I totally respect what our current president does. I totally uh, accept the fact that I don't have such qualities as he does, because he's an iron joker. Uh, yeah,
But you have started joking. Maybe that's a sign you're starting becoming a politician.
no, it's only because you know our president changed his profession,
Ah,
so
excuse,
somebody has, yeah,
substitute.
yeah, somebody has to supplant what he does. Uh, okay, uh, okay. So the main topic of today, actually, that we were about to discuss, uh, is like a lot of Ukrainians discussed this question a lot previously, even prior to this invasion, even back in 2013. Like, what can Ukraine receive from becoming a member of the European Union? And every country, every discussion in any country that is, like, trying to become a member, is based on this, like, what will we have, what kind of benefits will we receive, but nobody talks about what they can give, what they can share with our other people, what they can share with their friends and future trading partners, and whatever. So actually, we decided to prepare small tour into not like Ukrainian history, but the history of Ukrainian achievements and its best qualities that, of course, we will share with all the world. And it's I think that Anna has much more than I do.
I
I
doubt,
mean,
but let it be. Like it's good. I'm happy that we have this long list of Ukrainian achievements, and I'm 100% sure we have missed the majority of them. We will name just a few, and there are many, many, many more that we will talk about that too. So, would you like me to start,
yeah, yeah.
or
Because again, it's like everybody knows that, like, now everybody knows that Ukraine is a huge tourist hub. We have all kinds of landscapes, from mountains to deserts to shores to forests to rivers, like anything you want. If you want to have like ski session and that very day you want to go on a beach, you can. uh, but not much people know actually, like, why Ukraine can be useful for this world, for the civilization, right, for the free world. And I think that Anna can start, and
Mhm.
I will support and continue this list.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, many people discovered the name of Ukraine this year, and it's really bad that in such context. But at the same time, we were hidden. We were occupied by Soviet Union. We were hidden behind the Iron Curtain, and now we are really glad that the world discovers Ukraine. And after it's safe to travel, we definitely invite you to come and check our beautiful country. And continuing with this tourism sector, we have lots of objects of cultural heritage, lots of interesting places, tasty food, and all of that. But these are the things you know about Ukraine. And there are lots of various spheres in which we are already present, like IT. Many of Ukrainian IT specialists are part of international, serious international companies, and many Ukrainian IT companies are working for working on global tasks, and they are successful. Many IT hubs exist in Lviv, in Kharkiv, in Kyiv, and also lots of beautiful clothes and shoes are made in Ukraine for top European brands, and they are valued. So to some extent, we are a manufacturer of the European Union and known for our quality. Also, we occupy, I don't want to say this word, we are in the second place in honey production in the world. And you know that honey is good for your health. Also, we are among the greatest exporters on the fifth place of chicken. And everybody, I like chicken, and everybody wants to try chicken Kyiv. So we are pretty famous in that area. Also, our nature is beautiful, but not only beautiful, we have problems with ecology as everybody does, but we have lots of forests that are old forests that were preserved, despite the fact that we cut down wood and we are famous exporters of wood to the European Union, but at the same time, we still have lots of interesting and big forests that help change a lot. And what else? I think that we are also very important from this transportation point of view, being located between East and West. And now, when it's war in Ukraine, um, many countries have changed their logistics, but at the same time, it's bad for money, it's bad for time, and Ukraine is important area for transportation and work with that. Also, I know we are famous for the metal production, and our many important industries are dependent on Ukrainian metal production. And what else? We are famous in sports, right? You have mentioned that boxing is your favorite kind of sport. And everybody knows Klitschko brothers, for example, one of which is the mayor of Kiev during this wartime, and football or soccer, if you prefer. And taking into account Ukraine did not spend too much money on sports, our achievements are impressive and important even during the war. We demonstrate that a lot. Well, also, I think that we have to say that lots of scientific achievements, maybe you will speak about like this military sphere. I don't want to interfere in that as an expert, but at the same time, many people associate Ukraine with Chernobyl, and this is not like the thing we like a lot, like the associations we have with Ukraine, Chernobyl, war, Holodomor. We have to break this attitude, and at the same time, Chernobyl taught us a lot, and our experts are known around the world for the work with nuclear power stations, with nuclear things. So it's important that we share our experience, and I'm sure we'll share our military experience that will be pretty valuable. Maybe a floor to you for some time.
Yeah, I'm reading commentaries, and it appears that people know quite a lot about Ukraine. Model Kit stuff says you also have leading model kit manufacturing. That is true, by the way. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
th- uh, because we have quite a strong IT sector developed in Ukraine, we have a lot of people who model things using their 3D printers, by the way. Like we have a company that was among first companies that started making those molds and tuning for Ukrainian rifles. We have very like AK-74 is not mm, the most new rifle in the world, okay, but we were among first in the post-Soviet Union who started tuning them really hard.
Mhm.
Uh, of course, fencing, boxing, soccer, uh, and of course, there's a commentary from Crystal. Ukraine has a lot of experience with tractors. I confirm
Yeah.
that. Um, RBT Cat asks, does Ukraine has a national symphony orchestra? It absolutely does. We absolutely have a symphony orchestra, and from like musical point of view, we can tell you a lot about Ukrainian music because
Carol of the Bells. Carol of the Bells was inspired by Ukrainian song.
yeah, Carol of the Bells. It was inspired by Ukrainian song, and it like we have Ukrainian version of it. Щедрик, щедрик, щедрівочка. Uh,
Yeah, we can do it for winter.
yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of things about music. You
We
like,
have a couple of composers renowned like Stravinsky, who is also Ukrainian.
by the way, we also have quite a lot of kick-ass musicians, starting from popular artists, singers, popular musicians that are very, very nice. Like, oh my God, Antitila, The Hard Kiss. If you haven't heard them, you gotta. And
We have
Finnish,
won Eurovision a couple of times.
yeah. And also, you gotta check out our heavy metal bands. Our guys, Ginger, widely known in the world, Space of Variations, very nice guys. Uh, so there's like traditionally like everybody can sing and make music, but there's like this stereotype that there's traditionally singing nations, right? Like
Hmm.
Georgia, for example.
Hmm. Hmm.
Ukraine is
Italy.
Italy, by the way. Yeah, Ukraine is the same.
Hmm.
So we are very much advanced in this field. Also, Anna mentioned our militaries, our army. Uh, so the reason why Ukrainians kick ass is because uh, not only because we spent 8 years learning how to fight Russians specifically, but which is, by the way, one of the reasons, is because the Soviet army was feared not because it was Soviet army, like, like ruled by Kremlin. It was because Soviet army consisted of Ukrainians as well. Like, we were part of it, and we were tough. We have a lot of experience from Afghanistan, by the way. Uh, but it's not the main thing. As soon as Ukraine became independent in 1991, we joined the United Nations and we started participating in peacekeeping missions. My father was a peacekeeper in Bosnia in 1992, for example. And by the way, regarding the question of our attitude towards Russians, right? There was a bunch of Russian voluntary groups. It was called RDO-1 and RDO-2, Русский добровольческий отряд. Basically, they were like Russian volunteers helping Serbian war criminals to kill Bosniaks. And yeah, they were accused in committing those crimes a lot. We knew about it like back in the early 90s. Um, so we participated in numerous peacekeeping operations. We never like invaded other countries. We were always trying to help. In times of this war in Abkhazia that was fueled by Russians, by the way, in 1992. They brought their own troops to Abkhazia, and a lot of Georgian people were blocked in that region. Ukrainian helicopters arrived and helped to save those people. When
Mhm.
Ukrainians participated in uh, like those operations in Afghanistan or Iraq, the most recent ones, we were removing mines. Our EOD troops were there, and we were removing mines. Again, we weren't like invading or attacking or whatever. We were doing something useful. And this is why we have quite a few friends. I mean, I think it's beautiful. So,
Mhm.
according to what we have now, I think that our militaries will have to share something with our future allies, and with our current allies, of course, in terms of their experience, because there's already a lot of things that I think all the future generations, military generations, will be studying in their military schools. Um, it's like, like, to me, it's like, at this point, Ukraine is fighting the country that was basically the reason that the NATO was created, and we're doing it
Yeah.
successfully.
Yeah, and I know that many people feel a little bit like some people who doubt whether to support Ukraine, they have sentiments to Russia and their role during the Second World War. And once again, we have to say that the main theater of the battles of the Second World War took place in Ukraine, and millions of Ukrainian people were fighting against Nazi regime, and maybe we're one of those nations that suffered the most. So it is okay to understand Russia was able to create lots of myths about the Second World War. And for them, it started in 1941. In Ukrainian memorials, we have already changed the date for 1939. And it's important to speak about the role of Ukrainians also in the Second World War.
Yeah, completely agree on that. We have a lot of casualties from the World War II because Ukraine was occupied and because our grandparents fought against Nazis here in Ukraine. And some of them went further. They reached Berlin, for example. My grandpa was injured, uh, wounded, basically, during the
Mm-hmm.
attack in Königsberg. So we have a lot of that kind of experience. So I think, yeah, I think that in terms of like our military business, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
countries will benefit from cooperating with Ukrainians because until Ukraine becomes a NATO member, we will play a role as European shield against Russian invaders. We all realize that.
I like this joke, like before the start of war in Ukraine, Russia was believed to be the second army in the world, and now it is believed to be the second army in Ukraine.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so yeah, so from this perspective, we will all benefit, and I think like at this point, probably only Israel has more experience than us. I'm
Mm.
not showing off, of course. Maybe I would. Maybe I am. Uh, Medicine. So we had this awesome school of Dr. Amosov that is widely known in
Wildly.
wildly broadly known around the world. So we created like artificial valves for the heart, and Ukrainian surgeons are very professional and experienced in such operations. Again, after this war started in 2014, our doctors actually used this chance to improve their skills and learn a lot of new things.
Yeah.
They were performing crazy operations. I saw a video of a guy who had like a Vogue 17, that grenade for a grenade launcher, who had a Vogue 17 stuck in his hand. So the doctors removed this grenade. It literally stuck in his hand. The doctors removed this grenade, and by the way, they needed the assistance of EOD specialists because this what could go off, right?
Explode.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it was successful. My good friend Volodymyr Tovkis,
Mm-hmm.
he is. I think some of my friends know about him. He was wounded, so he received a bullet to his head, and the bullet went through his brain. It went into his head under his right eye. It went through his brain, and it got stuck under the skin on the back of his head. It was like one chance in a million, but he was brought to doctors very, very rapidly. He was on a position. He was brought to the doctors, and they they did impossible. So I saw my friend like 1 month after this injury. I like he was a he was like a vegetable. Okay, he
Mm-hmm.
didn't move whatsoever. He couldn't move anything. He was just like laying down and blinking.
Mm-hmm.
After like 3 months after that, I returned back to Kiev from a deployment, and he met me at the base. He was like, "Don't you recognize me?" Oh my god, he could move. He had some issues with like moving his all of his left part of his body, like his left
But
arm,
he
his
was
left.
alive. Mm-hmm.
He was alive. He punched me in the shoulder. He said, "Look, I can kick your ass." And yeah, he's fine. I mean, he does boxing. It's unimaginable. He participates in those Invictus games in Ukraine, and he
Mm-hmm.
was a
Mm-hmm.
bronze champion of the 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So our doctors do crazy things, and I think that a lot of people will again benefit from that because we have.
From our experience.
Yeah. So anything else you can add to that? And by the way, you were mentioning the Chernobyl
Catastrophe.
catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So our specialists were asked, like when there was this catastrophe on Fukushima in
Mm-hmm.
Japan. Our specialists also were helping because they have a lot of experience regarding
Yeah, that.
how to avoid radiation and stuff like that. So they
We
brought their
also
knowledge.
we also produce lots of electricity, and it's really important that we have already joined the EU infrastructure, and I think we will be able to survive this winter, and it won't be that cold as Russians want us to be afraid of.
Yeah, definitely. We gotta drink stronger beverage
Yeah.
in order to get warmed and dance on the streets. And
Nice
like,
idea.
yeah, people will think I'm like joking, but I'm not. That's what
No,
we usually
Ukrainians
do.
are like that. Believe us. Believe us.
Yeah. Хто не скаче, той москаль. So there's quite a few things that we can offer to the free world. I think that we will all benefit from this friendship and these relations that we will have, and that we already have, by the way. And I think that it's a good chance to read some commentaries. Um, okay, there's a question from Jeff Moore. Anna, are you from Lviv?
No, I'm from
Aussie Jeff Moore.
I'm from Lutsk, but Lutsk is not far away from Lviv, and also my region borders Belarus, and my region also borders Poland.
Yeah, by the way.
And I invite you to Lutsk after we win.
Yeah, you gotta visit this place. Um, and okay, guys, it's like, were you showing the lapka?
Yeah, the
Oh my
Lutsk for
god,
a couple
I
of
didn't notice that.
times.
We agreed to have
We have a
some.
system of science.
Yeah, we agreed to have some secret sign in order to to. So the thing is, we
Timetable. Yeah, I think some of your subscribers will ask you what was this lady doing with her laptop, with her phone.
yeah, not a lot of girls show me lapka, unfortunately.
I
S-
can.
Okay, yeah, okay. So the thing is, like, we have a curfew, right, in
Hmm.
Ukraine, and unfortunately, Anna has to reach her destination yet. That's why, like, we would love to spend all this night together with you guys answering your questions, and I think that we will have such a chance, right?
I think we should continue with that. Let us know what would you like to hear from us, and definitely, I have enjoyed this evening. If you did and the guys did, then we have to repeat.
Absolutely, because we were like talking 2 hours.
Just 2 hours, you know.
Yeah. So I think that we can do that once again. And guys, I will make some post in my YouTube. I think that Anna will do
The same here.
publications too.
Osta.
Yeah, and basically we can make another stream after a while.
Yeah, that would be great. And some comedy videos because I want to be a part of them. I
Yeah,
like the idea.
yeah, some shorts. We have to make something. Okay, guys, it's 2 hours into our stream, and unfortunately, we have to say goodbye. But we don't say прощавайте.
To be continued.
Yeah, to be continued. I was very happy to have you here tonight, Anna, and I'm sure that my and your viewers as well were so happy to see you tonight. Big thanks to everybody who visited us, who saw our podcast.
And Slava Ukraini
Героям слава. See you next time. My name is Operator Starsky and Anna.
from Ukraine.
Yeah, Anna from Ukraine. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.